the former players.
Time for a one-on-one battle again. Here with Kim Davis this time. It's Eric
So why
Winston.
is ours a battle? The other ones were conversations. What's that about?
See, there's that diva again. There's that diva again.
Yeah, Eric, you need some help here?
Yeah, I might. I'll leave you
Hey, Eric, we got to go.
Call the bullpen.
That's right. Eric's
It'll
going to
be
be there.
fine.
Hey, we need a sub in here. Hey, before Eric and Kim get into their one-on-one stances, let's take a few minutes to look at a video from Kim's series, Beyond the Headlines.
Welcome back. We are halfway through this year, so I thought it'd be a good time for a fitness tune-up. If you're like most people, getting in shape, even losing weight, was one of your New Year's resolutions. Well, if you're also like a lot of people, you may have fallen off track, but don't worry, help is here. Rebecca is an internationally respected fitness expert. He's a former fitness director for Bally's, has been ranked the #1 personal trainer in the world 4 times. He says it's important to recommit to your goals every day. Good morning.
Good morning.
You guys both look like the picture of health.
Well, thank you very much.
You know, people, everyone, almost everyone has it as a goal beginning of the year. I'm going to be healthier this year, and I'm going to be more fit. And then actually probably about February or March, they start to kind of fall off.
That's right.
What can people do, or what do you say to them if it is now the middle of the year and they're like, I haven't done anything? What do you do? It doesn't have to be, doesn't have to take you all day. I think that's one of the things that people are concerned about is I don't have time, and you say it didn't take a lot of time.
Really doesn't take much time, but before I even start answering that question, thank you very much, Kim, for supporting Health and Fitness, and thanks you, Channel 2. You guys are great.
Well, and happy 200th birthday or something like that for you.
Yeah.
Kim Davis, thank you so much for being one-on-one with me. Thanks for being here on Not Your Only Sports Show.
Well, thanks for having me. It's been fun so far.
Now, you're a Houstonian. You're originally from
native
Houston.
Houstonian.
And you went to Lamar High School right up the road here.
That's right, Mighty Redskins.
Did you like growing up in Houston? Did you like going to Lamar?
I did.
Was it different nowadays?
I'm sure. Now? I mean, you know, public school was great when it was a great experience. So I enjoyed it. It's all I knew.
Sure.
It worked out well for me, but Lamar is still a really good school, but obviously the public school system is kind of having its challenges these days.
So you go to Texas A&M from Lamar.
Yes.
How'd you fit in College Station? What was that like? What years was that, if you don't mind?
It was a really long time ago.
Was it let me ask you this. Was it R.C. Slocum era?
I was there in Jackie Sherrill.
Okay.
So we won when I was there.
Yeah, there you go.
It was interesting. I'm not going to tell you how I ended up there, but I will tell you when I told my parents I was going to A&M, they were like, you're going where? Because I was going to Princeton. I played a tennis tournament. I was a tennis player. Loved Princeton, and then at the last minute, I ended up at Texas A&M. Not a bad school, but not Princeton.
Not Princeton. There's not a lot like Princeton.
There's not a lot like Princeton. So it was an interesting experience. I will tell you that. You know, if I had it to do again, I don't know. Maybe I would go there. I now proudly say that I'm an Aggie, but I will tell you when I was there were not a lot of African Americans. There still aren't, sure. And there were some challenges, you know. And I'm kind of a little mouthy and real, outgoing, and that didn't always serve me well, if you can imagine that. But it was a good experience. It was a great, sports atmosphere, which was fun for me.
Now, were you a communications major there?
I was. I went initially my first semester as a petroleum engineer major because I thought that was what you should do. I was a really good student, but I thought
it's a really good school for that too.
Yeah, I went to those classes and said, I don't want to do
calculus too, and you're like, I don't know about that.
I mean, the classes were okay. I just didn't like it. I said, people do this like forever. So I always loved sports. I love politics, and so when I told my parents that I wanted to be a sportscaster, they were like, okay, if you're willing to work at it, because you're going to probably, come out and make $2 a year. And so my mother and father were very supportive, but they said, you live within your budget and we live within ours. So, yeah, I always knew I wanted to do this, but I just did it smart.
Now, when you came out, you've worn some different hats in the sports, I guess, reporting arena. And you've lived in a lot of different cities.
Right.
What are some of the cities you lived in, and what are some of the different roles you've had?
Well, I started as a writer because I thought being a woman, if I'm a sports writer, that'll give me more credibility as a journalist as opposed to TV. There weren't many women doing sports when I came out. I always wanted to do television.
Wasn't the Erin Andrews and the
it was a
Linda
different world.
Cones
Linda, was probably early in her career, but the Erin Andrews and those folk weren't really around, so you just didn't see women doing sports. There was a lady that Gail Gardner, who was like the first one on ESPN, even before Robin Roberts. This is the one I remember. And so I wrote first, and then I started doing sports talk radio, which I really, really enjoy. And then I started doing television. I mean, I did all those things at one time because I was trying to get the experience and prove myself that I'm really credible. And so I had a chance to do some national stuff with BET. That was back when they did Real News and Sports. And I worked with guys like JB at CBS and Mike Wilbon. And that was great.
What were those guys like in their younger years?
They were great. I mean, I'm still friends with them to this day. JB is just the same guy as he is now. He was at CBS Sports back then. They were always really encouraging and supportive. Most of them lived in the East Coast, so I used to fly from here to D.C. and do this roundtable show with them. Mike Wilbon was only writing back then. He wasn't doing TV. He was a columnist for the Post.
He was only writing up until what?
Right
until PTI, right?
PTI, right. And now he's all TV guy.
Yeah.
But they're all, they were all really good guys to work with. And I learned from them. We had great interactions. So I moved around. I went to Illinois for a while. I came back to Houston, and I went to New Orleans for a while and worked there. Jim Haslett era, right after the whole, Black Monday. I went in with that crew, and then I went to Washington, D.C., then I came back to Houston.
So are you... Now, Houston's a pretty big media market. I mean, it's not New York, it's not LA,
right?
But it's up there. Was that a choice that you wanted to? Was it just more opportunities here since you were from here? Is it something that?
Well, it definitely wasn't more opportunities because I was from here. I really came back to Houston because my father was ill and I wanted to help take care of him. And so I was in D.C. The Super Bowl was coming to Houston. I'd covered like 8, so I knew they'd have a staff. So I sent my stuff in, and I came back as vice president, one of the vice presidents for the Super Bowl, which brought me back home. And it was good because I was able to be here with my father. He passed away like a couple years later, but I accomplished that goal. And so then during that time, after the Super Bowl, I had an option to go do some work in Detroit, which was not an option for me. I don't like that city. Or I had an offer to go
That's how a lot of people feel about it.
You think so? I had a chance to go back to Illinois, to Chicago. It was a full-time TV sports job, but I didn't really want to be that far away from my dad being ill. So I stayed here and started my own business, did some freelance TV stuff and some consulting. And then my father passed in 2006, and then I went to my last job, which was Channel 2, which I just recently left, so I'm back as an entrepreneur.
Now, where do you, I guess, so as the KD, it was the KD company, right?
Yes.
And that served as kind of like a media coach? And
yeah,
did
media
a lot of
coach,
things.
and I did some consulting, really more from like strategy. And I used to do media coaching with players because those are the guys I knew.
What are some tips for me?
Well, I think I could tell you later. I don't want the people at home to get them for free. Here's what I say. When people are talking, one of the keys is you have to always answer the question in advance, why should I care? Why should I care about what it is that you have to say? And if you're trying to pitch a story, you're trying to get people to listen to what you're saying, you need to answer that for the reporter because that's what their audience wants to know. And really being available when it's good or bad is a really big key. And those aren't challenges for you. I mean, you've been that guy, so.
Try to be at least that guy.
Right, I was trying to throw you money.
So I guess we talk about this, and I usually just throw it out there, but this seems more, I guess, this might be a longer answer for you. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? What do you see yourself doing? Is it some sort of a spinoff of the KD company? Is it something that, some totally new avenue that you're looking to?
Actually, no. One of the things that
business development of some sort.
I do want to do whatever I do through the KD company, and sports is my first love, it's my passion. So the show that I recently did, I started this show at Channel 2 about almost 4 years ago, called Beyond the Headlines, and it did issues, politics, news, all kinds of stuff. I throw in sports when I could, and so I like show work. I like things that are live. I like documentaries. I have a few of my I want to do, and most of them involve sports. And so I want to get back to really working in sports.
Now you've mentioned politics a couple of times. Have you ever worked on any?
I haven't, but I just love it.
It seemed like you might. You seem like that might be up your alley.
Well, no, I couldn't. I wouldn't want to work on a campaign, but I would love to do a show that combines sports and politics because I think sports is really a microcosm of society.
Sure.
NBA labor lockout. It's big labor. It's big business. Everything happens in sports. It really happens everywhere. Sports is not different in that regard. And so I like to be able to, create conversations where people who may not be big sports fans get why it's so relevant. Not just because I'm passionate about X's and O's. It's relevant,
Absolutely. And just going to that point too is you see, I think the cities too kind of endear themselves to their teams, and the cities show themselves what kind of city it is almost to a certain point.
You know what? Sports is one of those times where people can be on the same page, regardless of race or economics, and so it's that whole tragedy and triumph. So, but here's one of the challenges: if you can't speak the language, you're left out of the conversation. So I started this series called Chalk Talk. It's a lot like Football 101, but it's not just football. And the premise is that. And it's geared a lot toward women. They won't know sports like I know it. You don't have to break down film, but to be able to have conversations with the men in your business or on your jobs and not be repulsed by it, is really kind of cool. And it's kind of a communications piece. It's using sports as a platform. I find a way to use sports for everything, trust me.
I think it's, and a lot of people don't like that first because, it's just sports, but
it's
you're
so
right
much
though.
more.
You're right, it is, it's so much more. Kim Davis, thank you so much for
Thanks
being
for having me, it's been fun.
All right.
From KPRC Local 2, this is Beyond the Headlines.
Good morning, I'm Kim Davis. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you're having a wonderful holiday weekend. Well, today we're checking out the latest trends in social media, how it can be helpful in your job search, building your business, or getting ready for the holidays. Social media can also be used to deliver a message to a really broad audience. For instance, just last week, New Orleans Saints tight end Jeremy Shockey responded to the idea of Cleveland Cavaliers star LeBron James playing football on his Twitter account. Shockey said, "Everyone trust me, LeBron James could not play in the NFL. ESPN is crazy to even think he could even make a practice squad. He's a 4.9 40. He's talking about how fast he does not run in the 40-yard dash. This comes on the heels of James saying he could be really good if he applied himself to the NFL instead of the NBA. Now, we won't go into the football implications of whether Shockey should even be making statements about who should or who should not play in the NFL, but the fact is the message was delivered on Twitter. As one network reporter said, for now, the web remains a digital frontier without a sheriff. And thank you all for joining us. Now, I have to tell you, we did a show earlier in the year where I actually got my very first Facebook page, and I'm proud to report I have made some progress. I get on there, I have some friends, and I have conversations, and I have really no idea how Twitter works. So I think I'm a pretty good test subject. So the first thing I want to do is say welcome.